Please help me in welcoming to the stage Dakota Klitsky, Brody Ryba, and Cooper Bryant as they give us a special introduction.
Good morning, Kansas FFA. I am Cooper, Payton's best friend.
And we are Payton's brothers, Brody and Dakota.
Having lived across the street from her as we grew up, I've watched her become the most beautiful, supportive, and successful young woman, and I've never known someone to be as passionate about their goals as I am. The amount of effort she put in toward a year of service, maybe dedication, I'll never top. To know her is to love her, and I can't wait to see what the Lord has in store for her next chapter.
My sister Payton is a great role model with her incredible tenacity and her drive to achieve what she wants. She's the first person in the Cheney FFA Chapter to hold a state office, which shows her determination and her working spirit. But aside from her good work ethic, she also has an amazing sense of humor and never fails to get me to laugh.
Although she's the third out of 4 kids, Payton is the de facto middle child of the family. For practically her entire life, she's been a comforter, confidant, and caretaker for all of us. Her selfless service and desire to care for others is a testament to her deep-rooted values of compassion and empathy. I could not be more proud of the person she's become. She is truly a blessing, and I can't wait to see her next chapter. Our sister,
My best friend,
and your 2023-2024 Kansas FFA Vice President, Payton Ryba.
Running into the room and coming to a sliding stop, I throw open my dresser drawers, grabbing a shirt and shorts, throwing them on as fast as I can. My mom had just told me we were going to the best place ever, the zoo. But before we headed out the door, I had one more thing to do, and that was to slip on my bright turquoise Crocs. At 5 years old, I was an absolute expert at putting on my shoes, if I do say so myself. Starting with the left shoe on my right foot. Perfect. And the right shoe snugly on my left foot, just how I liked it. Once we got to the zoo, we headed to the giraffes. It felt like the longest car ride to get there, but I was so excited to go see them. Now, it didn't take long before my mom noticed that my shoes were on the wrong feet, so she sat me down and changed them. After a while, we kept walking and we got to the elephants, and I decided to sit down and switch my shoes back the way I liked them. Right on left and left on right. Being so young, I had no idea what the consequences of my fashion choices would be. My mom met me with patience, tirelessly reminding me of the right way to wear my shoes. And although I continued to make my own personal fashion choices, that fostered grace within me. While I did love going to the zoo growing up, there was one thing that I loved even more, and that was VeggieTales, especially silly songs with Larry. The singing and dancing vegetables were guaranteed to make me smile. And while the show was funny, there was always an important lesson taught by the end. The pirates who don't do anything narrate the story of Jonah and the whale and teach us a valuable lesson along the way. The story begins as Jonah is being called to Nineveh, and his first instinct is to run away. He actually boards a ship going in the opposite direction. Storm after storm crashes into the ship, and it doesn't take long for the crew to realize that he is the cause of all this chaos, tossing him overboard. He's then swallowed up by a whale and is forced to spend 3 days in its belly. Being left alone with nothing but his own thoughts, he is forced to reflect on his past decisions. Ultimately, he makes his way out of the whale's belly and chooses to reset. He goes on to convert the Ninevites to Christianity and fulfill his calling. He was able to do so because he chose to reflect and reset, giving himself grace. There will be decisions in our lives that we wish we could change, but just like Jonah, we will be given the opportunity to reflect and reset, giving ourselves grace in those moments. Giving grace to ourselves allows for us to learn from our past mistakes and grow. Think about a time that you let yourself down. What were your first thoughts? You didn't get the grade you wanted, or you didn't show up the way you would have liked. How did you talk to yourself in that moment? Chances are it wasn't nice. I am the exact same way. I dwell on the things that went wrong, being the first to identify the negatives and rarely taking time to acknowledge the positives. It is so easy for us to get caught in a mindset of self-anger, dislike, or even hate. And while it's easy, this mindset is what keeps us from growing. It's our mistakes that give us the opportunity to learn, and our reactions that define our growth. In these moments, we will be given the opportunity to cultivate grace within ourselves. By reflecting and resetting, we are able to cultivate grace within ourselves. Earlier this year, Kai and I had the opportunity to visit the Celine FFA Chapter during FFA week. During this visit, we had the opportunity to facilitate a workshop and host and be a part of their fun night activities. Now, during the fun night portion, we were given a variety of things to do, one of which was playing NBA 2K. If there are two things you should know about me, it's that I am most definitely not a basketball player, and that I'm even worse at playing video games. So put those two together, and you've created my worst nightmare. After I cracked a joke about never playing, an FFA member from their chapter said that he would teach me. He started by telling me what every single thing on the controller did, when to push the buttons, and everything else that I needed to know to win. Okay, I thought, it can't be that hard to do, right? After a few minutes, I was an absolute natural, needed absolutely no coaching, and I was just shooting shots perfect. Yeah, that was an absolute lie. It was 7 to 168, and I was just barely figuring out how to shoot when the clock hit 0. He chose to tell me I did a great job as we handed the controllers off to the next lucky players. There is no way it was easy for him to sit by while I ruined our chances of winning. Yet he chose to cultivate grace, teaching me with patience and kindness when he could have easily rushed me or just taken the controller, doing it for himself. He showed us exactly what a culture of grace looks like. In that moment, he was not only cultivating grace within himself, he was creating a culture of grace for me and those around us. This can be difficult, especially when we find ourselves in frustrating situations. We've all got the wrong sauce packets from McDonald's, rightfully upset that we won't get to dip our French fries in ketchup. We can still pretty easily cultivate grace for that worker. But what about when a teammate doesn't finish their portion of the project on time? Is it easy for us to cultivate grace in that moment? Or when a family member or friend hurts us deeply, is cultivating grace easy then? No matter the situation, our reactions take energy, and a reaction of anger puts negative energy into the world. In the moment, this anger might make us feel better, and honestly, we're most likely going to be able to justify it. But it robs us of our peace. It costs us so much more than it is worth. Instead of choosing anger, we can choose to give grace instead. This takes energy, but this time it's energy well spent. By choosing to put positive energy into the world, we are able to cultivate cultures of grace, creating space where people have no fear of failure and are willing to try new things, a space where there is no room for shame or embarrassment. Both of these reactions take energy, and a reaction of anger sometimes does feel easier. It takes great strength to let go of how others have hurt us or let us down. But when we can, it frees us of anger and bitterness. And along the way, we make a positive impact in their lives. Cultivating grace means that we are striving to develop it within ourselves and as a culture. It takes time and is something that we will have to work on every single day. By reflecting and resetting, we cultivate grace within ourselves, letting go of the past and moving on to new opportunities, allowing growth to come from our mistakes. By meeting people with patience and kindness, even when they've let us down or hurt us, helps us to let go of anger and be positive difference makers in their lives, and also helps us to cultivate cultures of grace. Whether the situation is big or small, impactful for a day or years, we can choose to cultivate grace.
Payton, your loving heart and passionate mind inspire us all. You always have a joke ready to go for whoever needs a smile, yet you're always ready to sit down and talk to whoever needs to. Your endless share of stories keep us always entertained, but especially when you tell them as Boris, the Russian agent who just came to America by chance, I guess. But we will forever be grateful for the time, dedication, energy, emotion, grace, and the service that you've provided to this organization, this team, and to each and every one of these members. Love, Sage, Carly, Christian, Cecilia, and Kai. Kansas FFA, your 2023-2024 State Vice President, Payton Ryba. Please join me in welcoming a few people who have prepared Payton for her year of service and given up time with her so she could spend it with the Kansas FFA members.
Mom and Dad, thank you for always believing in my dreams through the years, no matter what they were. Whether it was spending long weekends at swim meets, listening to my band and vocal solos 100 times, or making sure that I was up and ready for FFA events on time, you were always there to cheer me on. Thank you for answering my endless FaceTimes, phone calls, and text messages this past year, even if it was just for me to tell you what I had for lunch. Thank you for being my on-call mechanics and helping me with all my car problems, like the flat tire I didn't know I had, changing my oil, and even checking for damage after I hit a very large cardboard box. But above all, thank you for your belief in me and what FFA could do in my life. Kansas FFA members and guests help me in welcoming my parents, Tyler and Nicole Ryba, as I bestow upon them their honorary state FFA degree. Mrs. Dungan, thank you for supporting me through all the craziness of the past 2 years. While you were only my ag teacher for 1 year, the impact that you have left in my life is unforgettable. Thank you for pushing me into new opportunities, even if we didn't always know all the details. You made me feel more comfortable taking risks and making mistakes. Thank you for not only sharing your love of plants, but also sharing your patient, dedicated, and caring personality always. The dedication that you have shown to improving our chapter throughout the past years will never be forgotten. The impact that you have left in each of your students is immeasurable. Kansas FFA members and guests, help me in honoring my ag teacher, Samantha Dungan. Cheney administration, staff, and school board members, thank you for creating a school environment that allowed for our FFA chapter to grow. Your belief in the positive impact that agriculture education and FFA can have in the lives of students is in part why I am here today. Thank you for your continued support of our FFA chapter and my FFA career. Cheney FFA, thank you for being the best home chapter that I could have ever asked for. Thank you for making lifelong memories with me and growing alongside me these past few years. Kansas FFA members and guests, join me in thanking the Cheney administration, staff, and school board members.
Thank you for all you have done for Payton and allowing her to spend the past year with us. Please join me in one final round of applause for Payton's administration, advisors, and family.